Welcome back to the Scarlet Faithful podcast. I'm Aaron Brightman. This episode is brought to you once again by Knights of the Raritan, the Rutgers NIL Collective. I'll have a link to their free newsletter in the description of this episode on whatever platform you are viewing or listening to this episode. Thank you for doing so. Knights of the Raritan provides a unique way for Rutgers athletic programs to be successful in an ever-changing NIL environment. Become a member of Knights of the Raritan for a chance to win giveaways, unique experiences, exclusive event invites, and more. Obviously, the grand purpose is helping Rutgers student athletes and supporting them with NIL. I hope you consider to do so. This episode, we're going to focus on the new ESPN Football Power Index rankings that came out earlier this week on Monday. Wanted to dive into that a little bit. I thought there were some interesting things there. And listen, it's the off season. Couple months till training camp. Also, some preseason projections. I talked about this last week. More and more is going to be coming out. And as it does, we'll kind of dive into it a little bit. It's interesting. It's fun, I think. And, why not pass the time getting more hyped up for what we hope is a very special Rutgers football season. So it's also a lot of fun because Rutgers is actually being projected to be good this season. We haven't had an off season going into the fall where we've been this excited, and their national perception and overall vibes of the program are so high. I mean, it's been a long time. So why not enjoy it? In terms of ESPN's Football Power Index, to just kind of explain what that is, just an explanation. FPI is a predictive rating system designed to measure team strength and project performance going forward. So it gets into the weeds. A lot of people probably have somewhat familiar with this. It's not a perfect metric at all. But hey, it uses analytics. Rutgers has a big returning cast coming back, and there's some interesting things that came to light in terms of where they're ranked. So in terms of their actual power ranking, they're ranked 45th, and that is 10th best in the Big Ten, middle of the pack. Listen, that's the highest Rutgers has been listed in the FPI in the preseason in I don't know when, but a very long time. So you'll take that. In terms of win projections, prediction 4.8 losses. So it's giving Rutgers a very good chance of winning 7 games. In fact, there's a category percentage of chance to win 6 games, and they list Rutgers at 80.4%. So that's all super positive. Really just talking about one more win there. Can they get the over? Can they hit 8 wins? That's really kind of the, I think, entry point to special season talk. You need to win more than 8 games to have a special season, but you got to win 8 to even be in that conversation. So, 9 wins, 10 wins. It's, obviously would be a tremendous accomplishment. Getting into the schedule. So, you know what? Before I do that, so in terms of the record prediction, 7.2 wins, 4.8 losses, 80.4 chance given to win 6 games. Now these are fun. 0.1% chance to go undefeated, 1.0% chance to win the Big Ten, 5.6% chance to make the playoff, college football playoff, 0.2% to make the title game, and 0.1 chance to win the national title. You're telling me there's a chance, ESPN, although I know you don't want the Big Ten to win because you don't have the TV contract anymore. That's okay. But I think the biggest takeaway here is that the FPI does list Rutgers, with an 80% chance to win 6 games, projects them to win right at that 7-win mark, which, gives them a fighting chance to win more than that. And then the big takeaway is that of all Power 4 schedules, Rutgers is ranked with the 3rd easiest schedule per ESPN FPI heading into the season. And one of my favorite quotes by the Strokes, tables, they turn sometimes. Rutgers, a decade after being in the Big Ten East, having to play Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan State for a lot of that was very good. Indiana's best team in years. Maryland resurgence. I mean, it was a gauntlet. And Rutgers lived through it year after year after year, and no more. No more. They're playing Michigan State, last game of the season at Michigan State, new coach, rebuilding. I'm going to go through the schedule and show what other teams are ranked on their schedule. But that's the easiest schedule in the Big Ten. Syracuse has the easiest of all Power Four programs. Virginia Tech, who's also on Rutgers' schedule, is number 2. Rutgers is number 3. So just that fact alone, with everything we've talked about stability a lot this offseason, and now knowing that the way their schedule is, which we thought was favorable, not having the blue bloods on there, including Iowa as well, they are well positioned to make a serious run this fall. Let's look at where everyone's ranked. Howard is not an FBS school, FCS, so they're not on the power rankings. Akron is 128th out of 134 FBS teams. So certainly not one of the better MAC teams on the Rutgers schedule. And then let's dive into their 10 Power 4 opponents, starting at Virginia Tech, a third week. Well, their third game of the season coming up, it will be off a bye. And Virginia Tech right now is 50th. So not too much separation there. They're projected to win like 6.5 games. Uh, Blacksburg, a very difficult place to play, but Rutgers would be a very difficult non-conference road game. Certainly will be, in terms of what that spread's going to be. Who knows? That at the end of the day, again, this is all just fun talk. Hopefully to you, but who knows how the first few weeks go? They could be favored in that game, but certainly an opportunity to win that game, which would be a really quality win on the road. Virginia Tech could make some real noise in the ACC next year, and then let's dive into Big Ten. Washington 31. That's at home. Then at Nebraska, number 41. Back home, Wisconsin 39. Stay home, homecoming, UCLA 40. So 3 teams in a row between 39 and 41, all back to back to back. At USC, number 18. Back home, Minnesota 61. At Maryland, number 46. Home, Illinois, number 62. At Michigan State, number 68. So let's just break that down for a minute. USC is the only team ranked in the preseason FPI for ESPN in the top 30 that Rutgers has on their schedule. That's pretty remarkable after all the years. They had, 3-4 teams in the top 20, top 15. Huge difference. A lot of teams in the 30s and 40s and then 60s. Michigan State, yes, it's a road game, but on paper, that's the worst Big Ten opponent they will face. Again, it's just paper right now. It's just mathematics. We'll see what happens once they get in the trenches and start playing real football. But on third glance, fourth glance, looking at this schedule, it really is as good as it's going to get, I think, in terms of the Big Ten, in terms of favorability, and seeing Rutgers have a chance to win a lot of 50-50 games. Again, recapping, 10th in terms of power ranking, 45th in the Big Ten, but they do have the easiest schedule and 7.2 wins projected. I'm sure a lot of people want to bet the over on that and 8, and it's certainly in the cards for sure. It's a hand that could be dealt, and just going back to tables that turn sometimes. I mean, this program's due, and that doesn't mean they're owed. I just think that they're due in terms of so much that's happened over the years. It's just, is it a perfect storm of things coming together all at the same time? The schedule far more manageable, the college playoff expanding, so many returning players back. Shiano hitting year 5 with the program. Ethan Kaliakmanis, can he get this offense to an average level? And if the defense can maintain where they were last year or even improve slightly, this is going to be a good football team, a very good football team, because they're not playing any daunting teams talent-wise, depth-wise. There's certainly some very good teams on their schedule. It's never easy in the Big Ten. USC, certainly an example of that. But, I mean, every game on there, they should be competitive in and have a legitimate chance to win. at USC is going to be very, very tough, and it's Friday night. Doesn't really matter, but just saying that's going to be a really, really tough one. Every other game on paper I look at, none would shock me if they won. Now, are they going to win all those? I mean, the odds are against them for sure, but at the same time, it's been a very long time since we can look at the schedule and have that kind of optimism for this team. A few more notes aside from the ESPN FPI rankings. Lindy's came out with their all Big Ten teams and listed Kyle Monangai and Tyreen Powell on there on Tuesday. And then I want to end with something fun. There's a YouTube. We got to shout out another guy on YouTube, AGAYE space GEE, pronounces it AG. He does a ton of prediction podcasts, videos, and all about college football. And he just did an episode on the 10 most improved teams in FBS. And he lists Rutgers at number one, the team he sees or he thinks will be the most improved team in college football next year, and predicts a 12-0 regular season record. I kid you not. I'll put the link in the description of this episode so you can check it out for yourself. I mean, it does get a little wacky. He mentions Iowa as a crucial game for them. They don't play Iowa, which is kind of funny because thinking that Iowa was on the schedule, and they're not even on the schedule. So he's got to be even more optimistic in realizing that. So listen, this is just another guy like me out there just doing his best, trying to talk some, college sports. But the bottom line is, I mean, this guy's got a lot of followers. He's got a lot of videos, and he's got a Buckeye flag in his screen shot. But he picks Rutgers to go 12-0, and you know what? Why not? It doesn't mean it's likely. Most likely won't happen. But this is the season to dream. This is the time to dream in this offseason. And quarterback play, development, the wide receiver group, offensive line, building consistency, Kyle Monangai being even better, Sam Brown being healthy, defense, can that defensive line really be a consistent force and be deep, 8 to 10 man in terms of that rotation? Will Tyreen Powell be healthy enough of the season? Can they move Motoré around? Obviously, you hope Moses Walker can make the leap as secondary, replacing Max Melton. Can Eric Rogers step up? Can that dynamic safety group of Flip Dixon, Desmond Igbenusin, and Shaquan Loyal take another step forward as well? Special teams, there's so many question marks, of course, but the bottom line is the analytics support real optimism for Rutgers football. 7 or 8 wins. I mean, you can't be disappointed with that. I guess in this scenario, we're all hoping for more. I think it just brings, in this scenario, I think with what we know about the schedule now, with what projections are, expectations increase. 7 or 8 wins would be great, and I'm not going to complain about it. But based on the situation, based on the roster they have coming back, based on some of the changes they made, based on the schedule, it's going to be as good of an opportunity for Rutgers to make a run at the Big Ten title, perhaps for forever. I mean, you could argue that this schedule, I mean, even looking at the following year, it's not this good, and they're not going to have the same roster by any means. So let's dream a little bit as the calendar is now fully into June, less than around 2 months till training camp. But ESPN FPI projections certainly adding to the party of optimism for Rutgers football. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this episode of the Scholar Faithful podcast, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.